أعوذ بالله من الشيطان اللعين الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين وبه نستعين وصلى الله على سيدنا ونبينا محمد وآله الطاهرين اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد ربي أنتقنا بالهدى وألهمنا التقوى السلام عليكم جميعا ورحمة الله وبركاته. I begin in the name of Allah, the most kind, the most merciful. It's due to that kindness and mercy that we have these opportunities where we gather in remembrance and glorification of Him, Tabaraka wa Ta'ala. So yesterday we started off our discussion. It's really a continuation from last year of the letter that Imam alayhi salam wrote to Malik. And we are now discussing the aspect of this letter where the Imam alayhi salam is urging Malik as a leader not to pay his full attention to the whims of the leaders or the chiefs, those who are wealthy or elite. Rather, he should focus his attention on those who are the regular masses, because it is the regular masses who will change the tides of what the chiefs want, really. The Imam says very beautifully that this is because meaning don't pay attention, be equal, be fair to the common people. This is because the disagreement of the common people sweeps away the agreements of the chiefs. Right? So whatever the elite may have decided, that if there is a commonality or if there is a unity amongst the common people, then whatever the chiefs want will not happen because the people have decided against it, right? And likewise, he says that the disagreement of the chiefs will be disregarded when compared with the agreement of the common people. It's a very eloquent statement that the Imam alayhi salam is making, and the fact that what we can deduce from this is that the Imam alayhi salam is teaching us that when we, for example, don't like what we see, if we don't like what we see in our community, if we don't like what we see in our country, then the only way that change will happen is when the common people unite. As long as the common people are not united, and I have an opinion, you have an opinion, we all have different opinions, none of us like what's happening, but we all have a different opinion. The fact that we are disunited means that this thing will continue to happen because the leaders win in that way, right? And we gave numerous examples that when you look at leaders who are despots, leaders who are evil into a certain extent or who want their way only, the way that they conquer over the people is by disuniting the people. Right? So you'll pitch, for example, that you're either one of us or you're an immigrant. And if you're an immigrant, then you don't have the same status as us. Or, for example, what Saddam would do, right, in his time would be that it would be Shia versus Sunni, and he split Iraq up in that way. And similarly, we find these numerous examples. And so the lesson that we have to take from that is that we need to find ways to unite. Even within our own communities, for example, there are people of different backgrounds, different people who speak different languages, but those are not the uniting elements that should unite us, because these things will always be different. Even in the society that we live in, it's not that we have to unite that we all think the exact same way, because we're never all going to think the exact same way. There are people due to their family upbringing think differently. There are people who due to their cultural backgrounds will think differently. There are people who always think differently. But that's not what's uniting. What unites us is in elements that every human being shares at its core. When you look at, for example, even I think this is a good lesson for us when you look at the criteria of Amr bil Ma'ruf and Nahi anil Munkar. As we know it, Amr bil Ma'ruf, to enjoin in the good and forbid the evil, is an obligation that we have. Wa alaikum salam. But the obligation that we have to do Amr bil Ma'ruf and Nahi anil Munkar doesn't apply to non-Muslims. Right? So I can't come to a Christian and be like, hey, you shouldn't drink. when it's not in their sharia to not drink, right? I can't tell a person who's not a Muslim that, hey, you're doing something wrong by not praying the way. It's not in their sharia. So amr bil ma'ruf and nahi anil munkar on those aspects are not necessary. But where it is necessary for us to enjoin the good and forbid the evil is in matters, for example, of oppression, right? So for example, if we see a First Nations person here in Canada is having their rights taken away, I can't be like, well, he's not a Muslim, I don't need to stand for his side. No, at that time, Amr bil Ma'ruf becomes wajib upon us. You follow or no? So when it comes to elements or times when we're talking about common interests like oppression, tyranny, wars, and standing up against wars, standing up for the rights of the oppressed, this is a responsibility that is obligatory upon each and every one of us. And so that's a uniting element that unites us regardless of that we share cultural differences or language differences or whatnot. And so there are elements that the Imam alayhi salam urges us to unite. And then in the next segment, the Imam alayhi salam discusses again why we shouldn't worry about the wealthy and trying to appease the wealthy, or trying to appease the elite or the chiefs. The Imam alayhi salam says that no one amongst them, yani no one amongst no one amongst those under you is more burdensome to the ruler in times of ease, less helpful in times of distress, more disliking of equitable treatment, more importunate in asking favors, less thankful when given anything, less appreciative of explanations at the time of refusal, and weaker in patience at the time of discomforts in life than the chiefs and the elites. Subhanallah. Yeah? How true, right? There is not a more fickle group of people than those who are entitled and wealthy. Yeah? Or those who are chiefs, or those who believe that their status is somewhere higher because they come from a certain family, they speak a certain language, they come from a certain bank or financial class, for example, right? They feel that they're entitled, and the Imam alayhi salam says that this is why don't waste your time catering everything for them, because these people will never be satisfied, no matter what you do. Right? And he gives some very beautiful explanations, right, or reasons why. He says there's not going to be someone who is more burdensome to the ruler in times of ease than the elites. Why? Because they want more, right? So things are going well, but they feel like they're more entitled to more. So they're always going to come and bother you. They look, I need this now. Can you make this happen? Can you do this happen? When you find, for example, those whose lives are not of that category, when things are going well, they're going to be more grateful that alhamdulillah, things are going easy right now. There's not a burden that I have to deal with, right? But when people who have expecting something all the time, they're never satisfied. And so because they're never satisfied, they're always annoying to the ruler or to whoever the ruler is. Likewise, he says the chiefs are not helpful in times of distress, right? Why? Why do you think the chiefs are not helpful in the times of distress? They have things at stake. Good. So they're worried about themselves only, right? So when things are going bad, rather than coming together and uniting to find a solution, they're going to be like, wait a minute, I got to look after myself right now, right? So why should I help anybody else? So in times of distress, that they're absolutely not helpful at all. There's no group who dislikes equitable treatment than the chiefs. Why? Why do they not like equitable treatment? Ghurur, in which way? Like they have... Yeah, right? If anybody's treated a certain way, it should be me, right? I should be, right? Do you not know who I am? Do you not know my background? So I don't like that you treat me the way you treat everyone else. So they're the people who would dislike equitable treatment the most. They're the ones who are persistent in asking favors. Why do you think they're like that? Yeah, the world revolves around them, right? And so I'm constantly going to come to you, constantly, hey, did you do this? Did you do that? Right? Have you done this for me? Have you done that for me? And so you find that they're most annoying to the rulers, right? Because every time the ruler would see them, he would know that he would want something to come to them. They are less thankful, again, because there's a sense of entitlement that they have. They are less appreciative of explanations when things get done, when things can't get done. Why do you think they are like this? Least appreciative of any explanations. They're not satisfied? Yeah, they're not satisfied with any answers. What else? They expect more. They what? They want it their way, right? Because no one has ever said no to them before. So now you come and tell me no. I've never heard that word before. What do you mean no? Right? I don't want to hear a reason. I don't want to hear an explanation. I want this thing to be done. And likewise, the Imam said that there's no one who's weaker in patience than the rulers, right? And so when you look at all of these categories, it's a very beautiful description, but it's very apt as well, right? This is why, even to a certain extent, the capacity that you and I have of so like you and I, for example, when I say you and I, many of us are first generational here, right? And so we can still go back to Pakistan, we can still go back to East Africa and the Middle East and deal with the no water, no heat, no electricity, right? Cockroaches everywhere. We can still deal with that a little bit, right? It gets harder as you live here longer, right? But you take someone who's born here and then you tell them, okay, we got to go live in Dar es Salaam. They're like, no, I don't think so, right? Like, I really don't think so. Why? Because they have been spoiled a little bit by the first world opportunities, right? And I've said this often too, and I don't hesitate in this, that the best 4 years of my life were when I was studying in the Hawza. But if I was not studying in the Hawza, I would not want to live there, right? Because I'm used to internet being a certain speed, right? I'm used to there being heat, and I don't have to go into the bathroom at 3 in the morning freezing and wearing all of these things. These are things that you endure when you go for ziyarat, when you have a greater purpose like studying. But when you don't have to endure these things, there's no need to endure these things. In a way, God has given us this gift, right? Doesn't mean we have to turn it away. But it does make us a little bit softer, I think. It does make us a little bit less appreciative of what we have. And so when things do get tough, I hope we're able to handle it. Right? Because when Allah describes the Akhir Zaman and how things will be and how difficult times will be, it's going to be something that we have to be a little prepared for and have a thick skin for. So the Imam alayhi salam here describes the reason why that we shouldn't pay too much attention or overtly overtly plan our affairs after the chiefs. But then he does mention 3 very beautiful attributes about the common people and why we should give our attention to them. He says, it is the common people of the community who are the pillars of religion. Yeah? They are the power of the Muslims and the defense against the enemies. Your leaning should therefore be towards them, and your inclination should be for them. When push comes to shove, right? We have always seen that when the elites will call for war, right? So they'll say, we need to go fight Iraq, or we need to go fight Syria. But it's not my children who are going. Yeah? It's these people's children who are going. Why? Because it's the common people who go. Right? It's the common people who sacrifice their lives for the well-being of the country. And it's an unfortunate cycle. But the Imam alayhi salam says that there is no greater asset than the common people. And we have to learn to make them feel special and to make sure that they're heard and that they are catered for. And once that happens, they will be the defense that we are looking for. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. So we'll do a little bit more, and then, as I said, we're going to play a game of Menti today as well, to kind of make time go a little bit faster. Though I'm sure, I'm not there, but I'm sure I could listen to myself all day long. You know what I'm saying? I'm sure I could. In this next section, the Imam alayhi salam, he guides Malik by describing additional responsibilities that must be upheld by a ruler. And he covers these topics, and these topics will be discussed over a few days, inshallah. Like I said, starting tomorrow, we're going to have a different topic for 4 nights, and then we'll come back to this. But the Imam alayhi salam discusses why it's important in this passage, why it's important for the ruler to cover the faults of others, right? And if someone does something wrong, it's the expectation of the ruler or whoever is a leader that they don't publicize the mistake or the error that the person has done. Rather, as a leader, they try to correct it, but they try to correct it in a manner that is private, right? It's not the leader's job to share other people's mistakes with others. And he says also that a leader should never spy on others. In the sense, he says very beautifully, and we'll come to that inshallah, that like that which is hidden about someone is not the leader's job to correct. But that's Allah's job to correct. But whatever is made public is the leader's job to correct. But sometimes leaders in their paranoia want to extinguish fires that are not even there yet, but they want to eliminate future fires. And so they look for and they search for the intent of what people are doing and what the ideas of what people are doing. And Imam alayhi salam says that it's the leader's job not to get involved in all of that. Just come to the zahir, that which is apparent, and work on that. And lastly, why they should avoid people who like or enjoy spying on people or gossiping on people. So it's a really beautiful section that touches upon different adabs, of akhlaq, and why a leader needs to be very cautious in all of these elements. So the Imam alayhi salam begins and he says that the one amongst the people who should be the furthest from you and the worst of them in your view should be the one who is most inquisitive of the shortcomings of people. Yeah? So not only should they be like distanced from you, yani you don't keep these people close to you, but in your heart and in your mind, these people should be most detested to you. That you don't want to hang around people who are in the gossip of other people, who are in the knowledge of what other people are doing. And generally around leaders and people of power, there will always be people who take pride in knowing all the gossips around them. And most of the time, you'll have the leaders also take pride in having such people around them because they feel more secure knowing the true intentions of everybody, right? But in reality, it should be the opposite. But when you look at these people, find a sense of pride that they know the shortcomings of people, and they know that by constantly whispering them into the ears of the rulers, they will charm their way into the good graces of the rulers, right? Because they're going to inform them about harm that's coming, or they're going to inform them about what people are really thinking. As a general rule of thumb, right? I think it's a good thing. It's a good thing when you're unaware of the gossips of the day. You know what I mean? You sleep better, I think. Right? You sleep better when you don't know what's happening around you. You sleep better when you don't know what people have said about you. And it actually adds to a more holistic spiritual growth. There are unfortunately people who like to be that tale teller, right? And they'll call you and they say, you know what happened? And you're like, oh God, right? Do I really want to know what happened? And our nature is such where we kind of want to know what happened. Right? It's not that most of us are not courageous enough to say that I don't want to know what happened, right? Because we feel like that knowledge is actually going to benefit us, and it turns out that all that knowledge does is hurt us. So you need that strength on both sides to be able to say, you know what, I really don't want to know what's happened. So the Imam alayhi salam instructs Malik that such a person who's always into the gossip of other people should be furthest away from you. And the reason why, there are 2 reasons primarily. Number one, because this type of person all they're trying to do is create a divide between you and the people. You see, when a person who has no merit to be next to the ruler, except that they know the news of what is happening. You follow what I'm saying? It's not that they are financially astute to be next to the ruler. It's not that they have wisdom to be next. The only reason that they're around the ruler is because they know the gossip of everything that's happening, right? These people have this sense around them that the more I can get the ruler to be mine, the more, or distanced away from the people, the more he will be mine, right? And so they talk bad about everyone else so that the ruler distances himself from everyone else and takes this person as a confidant. You follow or not? This is a person who is constantly doing fasad, right? And as Allah says, that this type of fitna, al-fitnatu ashaddu min al-qatl, right? That this type of fitna or this evil really is worse than killing in the eyes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because it ruins societies, right? And so it's something that we have to be always careful about. And so distance them, because they're just going to cause a divide between you and the people. And the second reason being is that if the people see the leader hangs out with these type of people, the people will turn away from the leader as well, right? Because the people will see that the leader is just surrounding themselves with these people who are constantly gossiping, constantly plotting. And so the people will as well turn their backs away from the leader. And so it's for these two reasons that the Imam alayhi salam says that you should be distanced away from these people. The message is beautiful, it continues, and we'll stop here though. We're not going to come back to it for 4 or 5 days, just so that we can make it a little light for the rest of the evening and play a game. But let's just look at really quickly why. And the Imam gives a third reason. He says, because people do have shortcomings. That's just beautiful. He says, don't focus on the shortcomings of people. Why? Because everyone has shortcomings, right? And if we start looking at everyone's shortcomings, there's not going to be a person who's safe in this world, right? The only time that you should feel safe in looking at other people's shortcomings is when you don't have any shortcomings. And that's never going to happen. And so we should never look at the shortcomings of others. And so the Imam says that because people do have shortcomings, and the ruler is the most appropriate person to cover them, do not uncover that which is hidden from you, that you haven't seen for yourself, because your obligation is to correct what is apparent in front of you. So even if someone comes to you and says, do you know Fulan has done this? This is what people used to do. We have so many stories about Harun or Mutawakkil. And when they would come to him and say that, did you know that the Imam has said this about you? What would they do? They would attack his house at night and find nothing, right? This is an example of that the Imam is mentioning. Someone comes to you and says, you know what they're talking about you? Doesn't matter. They didn't say it in front of you, right? It wasn't apparent in front of you. Don't dig it out, is what the Imam alayhi salam is saying. Learn to have a thick skin and let it go. There's a lot of points from here, but I think this line about that people do have shortcomings is one of the most beautiful lines in this passage for me. Because I think that having that understanding that everyone makes mistakes allows us to accept, allows us to deal with life a lot easier. This is like advice that we give to couples all the time who are about to get married or who have issues. That, look, man, no one's perfect, right? People are going to make mistakes. No one's going to sit here and have this ideal life. But once we accept that no one is perfect, then we can work towards becoming a stronger couple and look past each other's mistakes. So we'll end here. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.